So what are we talking when we talking about the inner child? So basically the inner child, in the way I'm talking now, used to be all of what we were. When we were children, that's what our consciousness, that's what we were. The thing is that we become more. It's like a computer, they got more and more upgrades. So if at the beginning it was just in a child, just a child actually. And that child, even though some people say, what can child understand about life? We had inside the perfect wisdom about what we need to grow. It's like a seed that has inside all the instruction about how to grow. The problem, and we're going to talk soon about the 4 stages of the development of the inner child from Jungian psychology, that sometimes we didn't get the nourishment that we need in each of these steps. So it's like if you want a plant that is waiting for the right ingredients to flower, but it doesn't get them. So it kind of stay, or part of it stay in a seed form. Part of us stayed in form, in different, how we stayed, level of evolution of the inner child. We left part of ourselves behind when we grew up, because they couldn't really have the support, the environment, the nourishment that they need in order to develop. And that part, they want to grow. They want to be expressed. They are part of us. Without them, we cannot be whole. The problem that we don't care about them. We are adults now, and all this lacking that we have, and we can't care less, in a way, as adults. We should care. Why we should care? Because each part of this inner child that we left behind is a big gift for us. But in a world that we are living in, it's a world which is very efficient. It's a world of mature warrior kind of energy. There's no real place for all these soft, gentle, relatable parts of us anymore. And we just want to be very functional usually. And we really we don't give the time, we don't give the energy to these parts to kind of recover, get the nourishment that they need. So what usually they do is they kind of try to take it by jeopardizing our life in all kinds of ways. And we're going to touch these parts and we're going to understand how we're going to heal them. How they can be healed, because they can be healed. And sometimes it's a bit like thinking about a computer program that was very useful when we had a very basic computer, like, I don't know where you were born, we had like, an Apple IIc in mine, I'll show you how old I am, but basically they were very, very simple computers once, and they had a very simple operation system. But, so for example, even if you take the idea of typewriter, why the keyboard in typewriter is the way it is? Anybody know? Yeah?
Spacing.
Yeah, you're right, actually. I will just explain it. In the beginning, typewriters are very inefficient. They got stuck together all the time. So they want people to write slower. So they put all the combination of letters that are usually used very far from each other. So people will write very slow. So it's okay with the typewriter. But today, when the computer is so fast and the keyboard is so fast, to still have a keyboard like this, it's kind of an idiotic thing. Like if today they will invent typewriters in modern ways, they will not put the keyboard this way. So it seems funny when you talk about social conventions that are really rigid. But in our being, in our program, in our big computer called our personality, this is tragic sometimes. Because many times we are like very big people, like huge computers that is still run by a really, really, how to say, primitive operation system that doesn't really serve us. If what was very, very useful, let's say when we were children, not to trust anybody who is not our mother, let's say, to be very careful of something like this about life. That's okay. It's okay that a child doesn't cross the road without his mother hand. But when you're 20 years old and you don't cross the road without your mother hand, it's a bit of a problem. And so something that was a good defense mechanism, so you're not run over, unless it is updated, upgraded, it's actually become a whole problem by itself. Much worse than the problem it came to solve in the beginning. So that's kind of the tragedy in a way of our inner child that got stuck there. It's like programs that were supposed to work when we were children, and they didn't get upgraded many times. And they have a huge effect of how relationship, for example, is going to be for us. And everything in life, actually, but I can't really elaborate on it. So I just go now through the 4 stages of the inner child, and what happens when they are not mature, because they're going to meet them soon. And heal them, you see, or start healing them. So the first part of the inner child is called the chosen child. And what is the idea of the chosen child? Actually, those who know Jungian psychology, but this is actually the premature king archetype. This is the level when the inner child, when the child is supposed to be loved just for what he is, just for being. Not because he's anything, just because he is. And if we don't get the right love at that time, we feel like something is inherently bad in us, something is flawed in us, that just the way we are is not good enough. And then we tend to be pleasers. We always feel we are not good enough, and we try to overdo things to please people. And if somebody really loves us the way we are, let's say in a relationship, there come a person, let's say a woman can be amazing, and and a guy really loves her the way she is, really. But she cannot trust it. Because the basic program of what love is for her is that she is never good enough. Because that was a program that was developed when she was young by her parents, the way her parents treated her. So she couldn't really believe in it. And then what fairy tale you get when that is the story? You get Rapunzel, the girl who is in big tower, and doesn't matter how much a person wants to get to her, he can never get to her because she has too much tests. Eventually will fall from the tower. She cannot trust that the person really loves her for what she is, so she puts more and more and more tests, and eventually the guy gives up, as an example. And then she proves herself, yeah, he never loved me, right? Because nobody can love me the way I am. So that's the first step in the child development. But then came the second step. And the second step called the prodigy child. What is the prodigy child? The prodigy child is the talented child. This is, in Jungian archetype, the magician. So what is the magician? The child starts to develop talents. He starts to learn things. And everything that comes out of him, for him, is really creative and cool. And if he has a mother who really appreciates him, and she looked at him as a wonder, he will learn that learning process is actually a form of love. It's actually a form of connection. And he will feel very proud or confident about his talents, and will develop skills and talents and feel good about it, and will grow to be more and more mature in a way, in this way. But if, for example, the mother is not, sometimes she doesn't have time for the child, sometimes she's threatened by the child's ability to become more and more independent, to understand life more and more, and do more and more stuff. Sometimes she is really kind of controlling, she really have this fear of abandonment, or that she simply don't have this ability to be calm and have this connection with the child, which is creative, because she's all the time in doing energy. She's like this working career woman or something like this. The child learns that whatever creativity, whatever talent, whatever spark he has is irrelevant, it's not important, doesn't have a place. So he can become either the naive, the child who is kind of intentionally stupid, so everything will not happen right, and this way to get their attention, or he can become kind of a smart, kind of, I don't know, manipulator kind of child, trickster kind of child. He's showing how smart it is in a bad way, also to get their attention. And he doesn't know, he doesn't learn how to become the intelligent, wise child who is really enjoying the spirit of learning, and it's a way of love with the mother and parents in general, and then with the world, and eventually become a wise person when you grow up, the magician. So the third step is actually when the child, it's called the Oedipal child, like Oedipus, actually. The child falls in love with the mother, or with the father if she's a woman. He wants intimacy with the father or with the mother. And then there is a whole story about it, and I can't get into it, a whole story, but sometimes the parents see intimacy as what the child wants, this connection, this deep connection, And they allow this deep connection in a very beautiful way, but sometimes what happens is that actually the other really afraid of it, especially like it's very common when girls start to become physically like women. Even though inside they're totally girls yet, but they look like women already, and the father is really afraid of this because he's afraid of his attraction to his girl. But it can happen even much earlier than that, when the parents don't understand that the language of the child that is seeking for love and intimacy, and he actually interprets it as a language of desire, of attraction in some way, which is kind of more on the sexual level. And usually he's afraid of it, or he created a lot of parents, when they have very bad relationship with the other parent, they sometimes switch the child with the other parents as a replacement. And then it's like you get the mama boy, for example, or the father-daughter kind of thing, that there's this connection which is bad. It's like over-intimacy, that the child become never allowed to leave the apron of the mother, to go under the apron of the mother, because this very intense connection, which is actually come to replace a pathological connection with the other parent. Also is this really big disdain. So the child learns that his sexuality is who he is as pre-sexuality even, but as a being who has sex is bad. And that creates a whole issues later on. So let's get to the fourth level, and we finished after this. So basically that's the whole story today on this account. And this is about the hero child. What is the hero child? The hero child is the child that actually want to dare and explore and feel he have power in the world. And that energy actually is very important. But sometimes, let's say, especially I'm coming from a Jewish background, so we have a lot of this post-trauma kind of thing. So if, for example, the parents are really worried, they have this fear that the child can get hurt very easily and something like this. So every time a child falls something, hysteria. So the child actually at a certain time, he don't have his own feeling. He has, it's called mirror feeling. He feel what the other people feel, and then he learns to feel by himself. So if the mother is really, really going to this frantic, panic when the child fall or when the child do anything which is going out of the safety zone, the child learns that everything is very dangerous. He learned that he has no power. He learned that daring and exploring life is something he shouldn't do. And that, again, creates something very bad. Either the child become like coward, somebody who is afraid from his own shadow, or he can, for example, become the opposite, the bully, in a way, because they have to prove that he's strong. They have to prove that, because otherwise they will kind of become like back into like a shell, like a baby, really caught in a cage kind of thing. So I'm just saying in this way, it's a very simplified way to explain it, but we have these 4 stages. And if in any part of this growing, something didn't work well, it's like maturity is like a space shuttle to the moon, if you want. It has like 4 steps, 4 missiles, 4 kind of rockets. And if any of these rockets is kind of failing, we not get all the way to where we want, which is like being like a mature, healthy, functional, happy adult, basically. So today we're kind of going to work through all of this. And for this, we need some resources. And there'll be kind of a meditation which will go through all the resources. But now we're kind of going to collect the resources. What do I call resources? All these things, they're going to help our inner child, when we meet him, to reprogram itself. So we're going to meet very interesting things. We're going to meet. We already met the Cosmic Mother. She's a very good healer. But we're going to meet soon 2 really mysterious powers that heal the inner child. And that's going to come soon. So